I don't think anyone really likes to be on the losing team. This week, when I was playing soccer with some strangers that I'd never met, we were playing a game and we was getting towards the last couple of minutes of the game and we were down, we were losing, but it was a really close game. And in the last couple of moments, we scored 2 goals to come back and get the victory. There's nothing quite like winning a game, like getting the victory, especially when you get the victory in the last couple of moments. When my team wins, it always puts a smile on my face all day long, no matter what. I just love it. I shout and I scream and I get excited because there's nothing like getting the victory. In the Big God Story today, we're learning how God is victorious. That means that even when it's against the odds, even when it doesn't look hopeful, we know that God always comes out on top. He always wins. He always gets the victory. In our story today, the Israelites were facing off against the Philistines. These 2 nations always would war against one another, but this time was a little bit different. You see, the Philistines had sent out this giant of a huge warrior called Goliath. And Goliath was standing in front of the Israelite army and he was mocking the Israelite army and he was saying, hey, one of you just one of you come and fight me. And if one of you wins, then you win against the whole army. But if I win, then I win against your whole army. It was a challenge and it was humiliating because guess what? The Israelites, they were afraid. They were cowering. No one was interested in coming forward and facing this giant Goliath. Surely no one could win against him. And yet there was a boy called David. David, the shepherd who'd been visiting the battlefield that day with his brothers to give them some food. David hears Goliath. And he hears the mocking of Goliath. And he sits there and he thinks, how could anyone mock the Israelites? How could anyone mock our God like this? Do they not know that our God is victorious? Well, David wants to fight Goliath. And people were laughing at him. They were saying, David, there's no way you could beat that giant. There's no way. Don't even bother. But eventually, David gets his chance. Probably because no one else stood up to even have a chance, to have a go. But David steps out on the battlefield and he doesn't go in big armor. He's not this big, huge giant. He's a young boy. And he takes with him just a sling. And he takes with him just some stones. And as he steps out in front of Goliath, he says some words. He says this to Goliath. He says, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you with the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. David, even though he was smaller, even though he didn't have all the armor to protect him, even though he didn't have all of the weapons that Goliath had, David knew that on his side, he was on the side of the God of heaven's armies. He was on the side of the one who is victorious. And David knew that there was no way he was going to leave that battleground defeated. He knew God would give him the victory. And that's exactly what happened. Goliath came to attack and David ran forward and he reached into his pocket, he grabbed his stone and he puts in the sling and he pulls back and he shoots a shot and he hits Goliath right in the forehead. Goliath falls to the ground and David gets the victory and Israel overtakes the Philistine army as they run away. It's a great story, and it's a great reminder that God is victorious, that nothing can stand against him. And so we know if God is for us, then who can stand against us? It might look difficult. It might look like we're down and almost out. But with God on our side, if we're standing for him, then we will get the victory because God is victorious.